Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Coffee Break Podcast. Today we want to talk about how you can deliver personalized recommendations that convert actually into sales. Now that's the main target for most merchants, but personalized recommendations with all the AI and some are still doing it manually is not the easiest topic. So therefore I have Alexandre with me on the show. He's the CEO of crossingminds.com. He is a distinguished AI expert and entrepreneur with a background in AI and machine learning from Stanford University. Alexandre holds 3 master degrees in mathematics, machine learning, artificial intelligence from ENS Paris Calais, and worked with Sebastian Thrun at Stanford University to develop artificial intelligence research that provided the foundation for Crossing Minds. So he's a true expert when it comes to AI, and we want to find out how that plays into e-commerce and into recommendations. So let's welcome Alexandre to the show. Hi, Alexandre. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Klaus, for having me.
Alexandre, I'm just curious, what got you into artificial intelligence very early into the game?
A long series of misunderstanding. I actually couldn't care less for informatics when I was younger. I was just physics and chemistry and math. And I remember for a very long time hesitating between those 3 topics, and I was trying to find the one that would be the most versatile. And when I discuss with a few people, I always come back to math because someone says, well, math is going to be for economics, it's going to be for physics, it's going to be for anything that you want in life, even maybe literature one day. And one step after another, math doesn't happen on paper anymore. Math happened with a bunch of algorithms. And I remember I met my co-founder who was my professor in Paris-Saclay, and my second co-founder was my professor at Stanford. And when I met them, for a math internship, it became suddenly a machine learning internship, who became an AI vocation, and that's just meeting the right people at the right time, with an open mind.
Okay, life definitely took you in the right direction there, as we could see from last November when ChatGPT OpenAI came out, is exploding in the marketing space, in the e-commerce space everywhere. Now we want to talk a little bit more about how AI can help business owners in achieving recommendation, in achieving more revenue and sales. So it's a very specific market within AI. What are the biggest challenges that you see right now for business owners implementing AI in the possible best way for their business?
Well, there's a lot of hype and a lot of noise about like what you can do and what you should do, and there's a lot of people that are building AI on top of other tools. Like the number, I think, of services that were birthed by GPT. So don't get me wrong, GPT-4 is a fantastic breakthrough. It's an incredible large language models. It's been worked on for several years by OpenAI to get there. And there's an API, and I'm sure a lot of services, and there's a ton of services that are built on top of that. So that means like it's not anything new. It's just like a better wrapper around the same type of ingredients. But it's very important when commerce, especially on the Shopify ecosystem, are looking at their investment sheet and what am I supposed to focus on this year to make my business successful, is to clearly identify what are the KPIs that they want to achieve per team, not necessarily for the whole company, but like on a team base. So marketing and sales might have a different focus than product, that might have a different focus than operation, that have a different focus than even engineers at the end of the day. So it's really a matter of like trying to identify what are those KPIs and then how the consumers can be impacted or should be impacted towards those KPIs. So in the AI side of things, GPT is a great tool for marketing to some extent. If it's leveraged properly, it's something that helps you with the copywriting, it's something that helps you, but GPT is nothing else but a subset of what we call generative AI. And generative AI is a whole full ecosystem that also is based on the concept of generating content from a specific type of input. It could be text to image, it could be text to text, it could be image to text, it could be keywords to text, etc. You have like a lot of things like that fit together. And then this is really the problem of like how to balance, I would say, the investment and balance the prioritization across all those tools. So in our case, our company is focusing mostly and principally on personalization and recommendation. And the reason why we decided to go that way, a specific other way, is that this kind of personalization of this like one-on-one relationship with the customers is something that if you are a Shopify, or if you have any type of merchant anyway that needs to have a customer relationship, you need to make sure that you are understanding very, very early what the customer wants, with a very limited amount of feedback. And if you become the best salesperson in the world and you have your own physical store, the name of the game is really to understand when someone enters your ecosystem, what are you here for? And what can you get from you? What can I give you? It's not who you are, where do you live? It's that those are questions that may be for relevant before or after, but not now. Now the question is like, what do you want? And what do I have that you will need or that you will purchase? And that is something that's super interesting because it's not just AI in terms of machine learning science, it's AI in terms of machine learning engineering. It's being able to play those implicit feedback that are really hard to grasp, right? The click, the glance, the everything that you would do on the human-to-human level. And in less than 200 milliseconds, digest all this information, make sense out of it, and then send back specific listing of products for someone that would help you optimize the KPI that you want at this specific time. So on the homepage, it could be the click-through rate. On the PDP, it could be the add to cart. And on the add to cart, it could be the upsell and the cross-sell because you want to show more product that you would add to the thing. So there's many ways to look at it. But I think I've done like a quick overview of AI right now, and I'm just going to pause here in case I'm going in the right direction.
No, I love that. I think it was crossing minds to do things a little bit different than others. I think most merchants are used to come with their profile, with their perfect audience profile, trained by what they're doing for the last 5, 6, 7 years with Facebook ads, where they know it's like, is this person doing this and this? Now you're basically coming from the other side. You have a blank sheet of paper, somebody coming into a store, and actually he's just browsing. He doesn't know what he wants. And that's how I understand it. And correct me if I'm wrong. That's where you come in. So you take all kind of indications that they do while coming to your store to find out what they are actually looking for or what might be the right product. Is that right?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's really this concept of but I mean, we can play the game together. You are absolutely in love with music and you have a store of music, Klaus, that you cherish, and that's your little kingdom. Someone enter in your store and I appear as someone to help you, and I tell you, Klaus, I can give you 2 things. I can tell you the social security number, where they live, their gender, and maybe their ethnicity. Or I can tell you the 3 first albums they're going to look at in your store, or that they're going to actually just touch. I mean, you don't need to have an MBA from Harvard to know that you're going to pick the second option if you want to really understand. And that's what's happening with most of the business. And this is one of those things that the Shopify ecosystem can also help you out a lot, because you can actually understand those interactions while respecting the privacy to some extent of those consumers. The other thing that's interesting is that in the e-commerce ecosystem, you very rarely, so you have a lot of cookies depreciation. You had a lot of things that are happening with Apple emails and all the stuff, of course. And if you're in Europe, I mean, you know, like me as French and German, that the GDPR is no joke there. The amount of users that are anonymized, or the amount of users that are completely new to a store, an e-commerce store, is roughly between 70 to 80%. Because people also logged in, usually when they check out. It's really rare for you to get someone. So that means like any other system of recommendation that is not taking care of those real-time type of feedback and are supposed to give you a recommendation based on the history of someone are leaving out 80% of your user base that would receive just the most standard recommendation that are the most popular without looking at who they are and what they're doing. And this is the thing that would really e-commerce merchant, especially on Shopify, need to start cherishing the most, is this raw first-party data that everybody has. If they have Google Analytics, or if they have, especially I think there's an integration now with Shopify and Google Analytics. but like this first raw part data about like what are the user doing and not who they are, what are they doing is fundamental for them to really expand on and capitalizing on the moments on the session and on the follow-up with the marketing and the sales, because it's much more interesting to do cohorts on the behaviors and cohorts on the locations or other type of profiling characteristics that are completely obsolete nowadays.
Yeah, I think that takes a lot of what we have learned in the past away, so that people need to be logged in their Gmail account, need to be logged in, and all this falls away. So basically, every visitor coming to the website gets his own recommendation. Now, I can imagine that takes a lot of calculation power on your side to figure out what is the person doing, and then coming up with the right solution. From a technical background, and you don't need to give away your secrets, but how does it work?
So it's actually super happy to help you with that. We have to have our own bare metal server where we have a bunch of GPUs in there to train models for each of the merchant. And what's super important is that each merchant needs to have their own fine-tuned models. That's why I'm not a huge fan of the solution that are completely relevant, by the way, so much better than nothing. But the one that just do a one-off, here's your model, here's your model, here's your model, here's your model, here's your recommendation, and then cheers. That's great because that's still going to increase your sale. And I encourage everybody that is listening to try a recommendation system just to see how that thing could improve their sales. And they might see a lift of 5-10% in sales, which is quite consequent. But if you want to really dive into personalizing for your store with your user behaviors and patterns and who they are, you need to build a model per store. You can actually sometimes build even more models, because some models can be fine-tuned for very specific KPIs. You see, a recommendation system that's here to encourage the clicks certainly is not the same that the one that would increase the purchase or the long-term retention, like a clickbait or something that's here to convert on the long term, or completely different. But you have, thanks to Shopify and all the integration that you can have with their APIs, in maybe a few milliseconds, 10 milliseconds or something like that, you send the interaction to the API. The API is on the cloud, on the Google Cloud system, and it's a model that has been trained on all those servers. And it took like a few hours, a lot of energy. Those models are trained and retrained every day. The full models, I'm talking about how the items are represented, how the user exists, and the correlation between those two, that's uploaded to a cloud. Shopify and the clouds are communicated to one another, and every time an action happens, you need to retrain or reevaluate the user and set of taste or embeddings, and then send back the recommendations, all that in 200 milliseconds. So you won't retrain the whole model, but you just would retrain what's the DNA, the taste DNA of the user in real time, to make sure that if one, you're capable to grasp the context, because someone that goes on your stores on a Thursday afternoon and the one that goes on a Sunday or when he's relaxed and all this stuff are two different maybe users, even though they have the same email address, there might be a two different contexts. Like it would be a different one. I'm more stressed, it's the week and all this stuff, and more relaxed on Sunday. And maybe it's important for us to adjust the models on the same person, just because the mindset is a little bit switched. But all that needs to happen extremely fast if you want to be relevant, because it has to be 200 milliseconds for that to be relevant.
Okay, I think 200 milliseconds should work. I usually say everything that's above 3 seconds is bad for loading a site.
I was going to say 200 milliseconds, that's just the API. Then you need to think about like, okay, how does Shopify is going to display that recommendation? How does the carousel is going to load? I do have like a very alambicated theme that's going to make everything complicated. So you're just like, it's what I know is like on my side, I can't go too slow either, because so many things others need to happen at the same time.
Yeah. Talk about the other things. I know you integrate not only into Shopify, it's the whole technology stack that you work with. What other kinds of tools or solutions are you're working with Crossing Minds?
Oh, I mean, again, not to do any promotion of the thing, but like think of any, if you have an intelligence that is capable to know what your user wants, you want to capitalize on that, on as many touch points with the user as you can. That means that it could be a survey that you send them for brand new users and that they fill up, and how do you leverage the survey to personalize right away, even before them interacting with your brand. It could be integration with the emails for all the campaigns, for the follow-up with the right timing, for the flows that you could have when they abandon the cart, for I have a new product. Who am I sending that new product to? It's like the reverse of recommendations, like recommendation of user for product. You have integration with SMS because you might want to ping them about, hey, I created a new page personalized for you, or here's a selection of item for the summer for you, or anything like that. You could have, to some extent, but that's for bigger customers, even integration with their physical store. So think of Sephora as one of the potential massive store. They have a ton of product. This is something that's a little bit complicated for them to evaluate. And you have every summer a bunch of teenagers, 17, 18, 19, 20, or maybe more, that comes to an internship or a salesperson. This is impossible for them to know exactly all the products that Sephora has. There's like 3,000 products. And you have someone that comes and say, oh, I'm a little bit oily today. What cream should I put on my skin? And how do you expect that person, with all the goodwill and intention in the world, that started 2 months ago, that would find, oh yeah, definitely, I'm going to ping you this one? No. So then suddenly you realize, like, wait, recommendation is not just for the end user, it also could be for the customer support to make sure that they can recommend you, even if they're not expert. What would be the best thing for you to recommend to that person? It goes to everywhere that you think I need to have a personal touch. Then this is where that thing should be plugged. And this is what you should expect from any recommendation partner that you have, because it's the best way to create like a common intelligence. Because you could have, if they dismantled, you could have recommend 6 times the same item at 6 different touch points, because you never remember that you already presented that, and the user would be like, fuck it, no, I don't want that shoe. No, I don't want that pair of shoes. Thank you. So you need to have this kind of like memory also across all those touch points.
I like the example that you can basically upscale your own employees with that. It might even be your support staff that people call in or something like that. So that's a great example there. Now, in regards to implementation into a Shopify store, what is needed? What are the steps to get it up and running?
I mean, for any recommendation system, I think that you just install the app. After that, if it's us, you need to just you contact us and you install the app, and we do a kickoff call, and we have especially in our case, like if anyone wants to try something, we have a 3 months free POC. So and the funny fact is, like 95% of the people that did the POC with us converted. We make sure that we do a good job at deploying those recommendations on emails and also. But any system now with the ease of integration and the flexibility of the Shopify ecosystem, it's just a matter of installing the app and having the right customer support.
Okay. What kind of results do you see for new merchants that are using your system?
It depends. The lowest result we ever had on the increase in sales was around 50%. And after that, it's really a matter of like, how do you combine the different algorithms from the homepage, the email list, and we work with companies like Eventbrite and Chanel on much bigger scale. And here we reach results like 270% increase in some of the clicks or some of the emails and stuff like that. But that's a different story. For the Shopify, it's also very good, but the amount of data that you have is a little bit less because you have less user coming there. And so the algorithm takes a little bit longer to warm up, but it's at least 50%.
Okay, that shows you the power of recommendation. When it comes to data, we were talking about data. What's kind of the learning time before it really kicks in, or what's the minimum traffic that you need to have as a merchant before it really makes sense?
So for a merchant, it's also a matter of like tiering or like budget investment and what you get out of it, right? There's like always an ROI that you need to keep in mind. How much am I putting in those recommendations and how much am I getting out of it? This is why it's always better to work with companies that can do either price on volume base or price on attribution revenue, but something that's fair, right? It's like you win if I win, and if I don't win, you're not winning anything. And so to go back on this, why I'm saying that is like because some models might take much longer to get there, and it's unfair to pay all the time to get there versus some models can work right away. In the case of Shopify, you can, without any data, just by looking at all the product catalog and extracting the images, the text with embeddings like GPT could do for the text, but like there's many other models that could do that, like the tags, the materials, the pricing, and all the stuff. You can already start doing what we call unsupervised content-based models that do recommendation in less than 5 minutes, just based on the content of those things. Now it's like how crafty that thing can be. And you'll be shocked to see how good those recommendations can be, because if you go on GPT, for instance, ChatGPT, and you say, I love those movies, can you give me more movies like that? He would give you actually pretty decent recommendation, but he doesn't know anything about you except the fact that he said, I'm going to find out movies that are similar to the 3 that you gave me, and that's pure content-based recommendation. So people tend to look down on content-based, but if it's done really well, it can actually be a great first step. So content-based is 5 minutes. Then you think of a collaborative filtering, which is mixing all the patterns of the other users, and it's the collaborative filtering is more of like other people like you did that, right? That's what you see on Amazon, like other people also purchased. That's very much based on like trying to map 2 different behaviors, and if something is missing for one person, they just see what the other person has done. And then after that, you get into more crafty model, which are more hybrids and that a mix of collaborative and content-based and all those stuff. And those ones can take a few weeks, but I would say you can start recommendation on a good level with nothing. And if you want to start like improving, then you have to make sure that you are in a pricing model that's worth to improve, or in a pricing model that's fair for you to improve. Because if it's a flat fee and the person will tell you, yeah, you have to pay $2,000 a month, which is absurd, and without seeing any results, you shouldn't do that.
Okay, makes total sense. In regards of store size, how many SKUs does a merchant need to have before it really makes sense? I mean, if you have only 5 products, you probably won't need it. But
exactly, it's all a matter of like how many products can I put in a page for my user to not be bored and scroll to the bottom. So usually 40 per product. You don't really need recommendation. You could, if you have like an alembicated customer journey and path, and there's like something that are locked with the emails and all the stuff, but it doesn't have to be super complex there.
Okay. You mentioned a couple of your brands that you're working with. Are there any specific industries or verticals that are using it already in their business, or using it more than others?
Recommendation system?
Yeah.
Our VP of engineering was the former head of recommendation at Spotify. So entertainment, since the dawn of time, hammered down recommendation, and to the point that they built always their own team in-house. So entertainment was always 2 or 3 steps ahead on personalization, because there was like, that's the only thing that matters, retaining people, showing them great content in my massive library. Then after that, you go to the e-commerce ecosystem, because recommendation is very interesting on the sense that compared to entertainment, which is like retention and click, it's kind of hard to measure. E-commerce is super simple. It's like sales and clicks, and I can measure that today if once I deploy the thing. So people were actually much more likely to adopt that kind of technology because the results were so concrete. And with that in mind, there was also, it was mostly the mid-market that was very eager to try, because they were young enough to be hungry and have the tech savviness to do that, and still flexible to just try things, but not too young to not have the mean to, or for it to be the end of the world if they fail. So mid-market was always very, very excitable and exciting when it comes to thinking of using this technology in this application. Now it becomes a little bit more and more democratized. So small business and mid-market can also do that. Of course, enterprise is always a bit more painful, as I'm sure you know, and everybody knows. But it's also worth it because once it's deployed, it doesn't move.
Cool. Alexandre, as we're coming to the end of our coffee break today, where can people find out more about Crossing Minds?
LinkedIn, Twitter, the website, crossingminds.com. Please feel free, shoot us an email. We're happy to chat, happy to brainstorm. We're happy to help. We have a great partner network also if you guys want to discuss about that ecosystem in general. So it's happy, and I think we have also like a mailing list with a lot of ebooks and cool little infos and numbers and stuff like that about recommendation and all the stuff that I always encourage people to look into. So yeah, join us. Super happy to. The more people we can talk to, the happier we are.
Cool. I will put the links in the show notes as always, and you're just one click away. Alexandre, I think you gave a very good, for the common man on the street to understand, intro into what artificial intelligence actually is and can do. And I hope that a lot of people will try out your system. The numbers speak for themselves. And I think you only can win with recommendations that are really made for the specific customer. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Klaus. Have a great day.
Hey, Klaus here. Before you go, I would like to invite you to become part of the e-commerce merchant pro community to get actionable advice from other Shopify merchants who already have achieved what you are aiming for. Our community is a safe place to actively grow your online retail business with the support of the most amazing and helpful group of e-commerce entrepreneurs behind you. Running a Shopify business is tough. Don't do it alone. Join us now. You will find the link in the show notes. Also, if you think your online store has conversion or marketing issues and you would like to have a fresh set of eyes on your business, then drop me an email at klaus@klauslauter.com and let me know a little bit about your business. It might be beneficial for you to have me look over your store, offers, emails, and ads and get an unbiased outside perspective and guidance to help you make most of your online business. Thank you as always for tuning in today. I appreciate you. Until next time, and I talk to you soon.